What if I told you that your entire life could begin to change just by repeating one simple sentence every single day? I know it might sound unbelievable at first. After all, we've been taught that success comes only from long hours, hard work and sacrifice. And yes, hard work is important, but what if the real key lies deeper, hidden inside the mind itself? Most people spend years, sometimes decades, chasing after wealth, happiness, confidence, and peace of mind. They read books, attend seminars, work multiple jobs, or follow the latest advice from social media influencers. Yet, despite all this effort, many still feel stuck, tired, and unfulfilled. They wonder why others seem to rise with ease while their own progress feels slow and frustrating. The truth is, the difference isn't just in effort, it's in programming. And that's where something called auto-suggestion comes in. Now, this isn't a new concept. In fact, it was clearly explained nearly a century ago by Napoleon Hill in his legendary book Think and Grow Rich. He called auto-suggestion the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. In simple terms, it means this: whatever you repeatedly tell yourself, whether it's good or bad, your subconscious mind accepts as truth. And once it accepts something as truth, it begins to shape your actions, your attitude, your confidence, and even the results you attract into your life. Most people are using auto-suggestion every day without realizing it. They're repeating sentences like, "I'll never succeed," "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm not smart enough." These words may seem small, but repeated often enough, they become beliefs, and beliefs become reality. The subconscious doesn't judge or argue, it simply absorbs. It acts like a sponge for whatever you feed it. So, if your mind is full of negative self-talk, doubt, or fear, you'll keep attracting situations that match those thoughts. But here's the beautiful part. You can flip that script. You can take back control by choosing what you say to yourself every single day. Just one powerful sentence, repeated consistently with faith and feeling, can start to reshape your entire mindset. And when the mind begins to change, life follows. This is not about wishful thinking or empty motivation. It's about working with the deepest part of your mind to plant a seed, a clear, focused intention that will grow into reality. Hill believed that repeating a positive affirmation with belief and emotion could directly influence the subconscious, making it act like a magnet for the things you desire, and modern psychology supports this. Repetition creates neural pathways. What you say, you start to believe. What you believe, you begin to act on. What you act on, you become. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone wakes up every morning and says with conviction, "I am focused, successful, and attracting the right opportunities." Even if at first they don't fully believe it, over time that message begins to take root. Their posture changes, their tone of voice becomes more confident. They start recognizing chances they used to overlook. On the other hand, someone who wakes up and says, "Nothing ever works for me," unknowingly shuts doors before even knocking. It's the same day, the same world, the same possibilities, but two completely different outcomes, all because of one sentence. You don't have to memorize a long speech or shout affirmations into the mirror for hours. All you need is a single sentence that matches the life you want to create. You repeat it every morning, you repeat it every night. You say it with emotion. You imagine it as if it's already true. That's how auto-suggestion works. You're not lying to yourself, you're reprogramming the system that has been unconsciously running on fear, doubt, or limitation. And the best part, it's completely free. You don't need special equipment or training. You just need intention, repetition, and belief. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to choose the right sentence for yourself and how to repeat it in a way that actually works. Because once you start doing this the right way, something remarkable will happen. You'll begin to notice small shifts, tiny moments where things start going your way. You'll feel more in control, more confident, and more alive. The sentence that once felt like a dream will start to become your truth, and you'll realize the power to change your life was never out there. It was always inside your mind, waiting to be awakened. Let me ask you something that might hit close to home. Why is it that so many people feel stuck in life? Why do so many of us, even after trying so hard, reading books, working late, pushing ourselves, still feel lost, financially drained, or deeply unmotivated? The answer is both simple and powerful. It's because most people are unknowingly repeating the wrong sentences to themselves every single day. Sentences like, "I'm not good enough," or "success isn't for people like me," or "money is hard to make." These phrases might not seem like much, but when they're repeated daily, especially with emotion and belief, they start to form the very foundation of how we see ourselves and the world around us. And that's where the real trap begins. You see, your subconscious mind is always listening, always absorbing. And the important thing to understand is this: the subconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't question whether what you're saying is good or bad, helpful or harmful. It simply takes in whatever it hears repeatedly and begins to accept it as truth. It's like soil that doesn't care what you plant. Whether you plant a seed of hope or a seed of fear, it will grow whatever you feed it. And unfortunately, most people are feeding it fear, doubt, insecurity, and limitation. Not because they want to, but because they've never been taught how to speak differently to themselves. That's why so many dreams remain just dreams. That's why self-doubt grows louder with time. And that's why people wake up feeling like something is missing, like they're living a life that isn't fully theirs. But then something remarkable happens. You come across a truth so powerful, it has the potential to change your entire reality. A truth that was written almost 100 years ago by Napoleon Hill in one of the most life-changing books ever written, Think and Grow Rich. He introduced a concept called autosuggestion. And within that concept lies one of the greatest tools for transformation you will ever encounter. Napoleon Hill said, "Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought." In other words, you can train your subconscious to believe anything if you repeat it often enough and with belief. Now, imagine this. You wake up in the morning, you go to the mirror, and instead of repeating the same tired complaints about life, money, or failure, you look into your own eyes and say, "I am confident, I am successful, I am unstoppable. My mind is magnetized to wealth and opportunity." And you don't just say it like it's a chore. You speak it like it's already real. You speak it with passion, with energy, with faith. That sentence, spoken with intention and emotion, starts to rewire your brain. You begin to feel different. You start acting differently. You notice new thoughts, new motivation, even new doors opening. And over time, that one sentence becomes not just a statement, but your identity. This isn't just wishful thinking. This isn't just positive fluff. This is science. This is psychology. This is how world-class athletes program themselves for greatness. It's how successful entrepreneurs keep their vision alive, even when they face failure after failure. And it's how people who've gone through heartbreak, trauma, or deep personal loss rebuild themselves from the inside out. They don't wait for someone to save them. They start by changing the sentences they say to themselves. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need 1,000 affirmations. You don't need a perfect life or even full belief in the beginning. All you need is one powerful sentence. One line that reflects the version of you that you want to become, and then repeat it daily, with your full heart, over and over, until it becomes the most natural thought in your mind. That's the beginning of real transformation. That's the true power of autosuggestion. Now that you understand the power of one sentence and how deeply it can shape your reality, let's talk about how to actually use it, step by step. Because autosuggestion isn't about simply saying a few nice words once and expecting miracles. It's about building a new habit of belief, a new rhythm of thought that begins to rewire your inner world. The first step is to choose your sentence carefully. This sentence should reflect the goal, identity, or emotion you want to bring into your life. It should be positive, personal, and in the present tense. For example, if you want to attract more success and financial growth, a simple and powerful sentence could be, "I am attracting wealth and opportunities every day." It must feel aligned with what you desire, yet strong enough to inspire you. And once you have your sentence, the real journey begins. Start every single morning by repeating your chosen sentence. Say it out loud or quietly to yourself, but say it with emotion. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your future depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your subconscious responds to emotion more than words. You must feel the sentence in your body, not just think it in your head. Picture the outcome. Feel the pride, the excitement, the relief, as if it's already yours. The clearer and more vivid the feeling, the deeper it will sink into your subconscious. And don't stop at the morning. End your day the same way. Just before bed, when your conscious mind is winding down and your subconscious becomes more open to suggestion, speak the sentence again. Let it be the last thought you carry into your dreams. Over time, this repetition becomes a rhythm, and this rhythm starts to shift the way you think, feel, and behave. But here's what you must understand. This isn't instant magic. In the beginning, your mind might resist. Doubts might creep in. You may even feel silly or uncomfortable saying it out loud. That's normal. You're challenging years, sometimes decades of old programming. But with consistency, your subconscious will start to accept the new belief. That's why you must stay with it for at least 21 days. Research shows that it takes time for the mind to create new neural pathways. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up after 2 days because you don't see a tree. You water it, care for it, and trust that growth is happening underneath. Autosuggestion works the same way. Your sentence is the seed. Your repetition and belief are the water and sunlight. And with time, you will begin to notice small shifts in your life. Suddenly, your behavior will start to change, subtly at first. You'll feel more confident when you speak. You'll begin taking actions you once hesitated to take. You'll spot opportunities that used to pass you by. You might even start attracting the right people, the right ideas, or the right moments into your life without forcing them. This is not coincidence. This is your subconscious working in harmony with your goals. When your inner belief matches your outer actions, that's when true transformation begins. And it all starts with one sentence, spoken with purpose, repeated with faith, and lived with courage. But here's something most people never talk about. There's one more layer to autosuggestion, one hidden truth that multiplies the power of your sentence, something that separates those who succeed from those who give up too early. If you don't understand this part, your sentence may never reach its full potential. It's the final piece to unlocking the deepest level of subconscious alignment. And once you understand this, your words will not only influence your mind, they'll start influencing your entire reality. You don't have to change your entire life overnight. You don't need to move mountains or chase miracles. All you need to do is start with one small but powerful shift, one sentence that you choose to believe, repeat, and embody every single day. Just one. Say it in the morning when you wake up. Say it at night before you sleep. Say it when doubt creeps in. And say it again when hope returns. Because with enough repetition, that sentence will stop being just words. It will become part of who you are. The truth is, The world around you is often just a mirror, reflecting back the thoughts you've allowed to live inside your mind. So choose your sentence with care. Let it lift you, guide you, and remind you that the version of you you're becoming is already taking shape, one belief at a time. And if this message touched something in you today, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share your own sentence in the comments below. It might inspire someone else who's searching for a starting point. And if you're ready to keep growing, keep transforming, and keep feeding your mind the words that build a better future, then subscribe to Growing Minds. Every week we bring you tools, teachings, and truths that can reshape the way you think, act, and live. Because real wealth isn't just found in your bank account, it's found in your purpose, in your peace, and in your power to believe again. But remember, this is just the beginning. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown is something that has been with mankind from the very beginning. Man's first instincts and emotions formed his response to the environment in which he found himself. The unknown, being likewise the unpredictable, became for our primitive forefathers an omnipotent source of boons and calamities visited upon mankind. The ancient Greeks believed in gods and goddesses who they thought had control over the world and of people's lives. They prayed to these gods for help and protection because if the gods were unhappy, they would punish them. As time went on, they started to seek explanations based on natural principles rather than gods as primary causes, and became the first natural philosophers, what we now call scientists. Science has since then helped us explain many of these previously unknown phenomena, but it has also shown us how much still remains unknown in the vastness of the universe. Howard Phillips Lovecraft was an American writer of weird fiction born in 1890, who introduced the unknown as the object of fear. The novelty of his approach lies in the exploration of new scientific areas in which the possibility of new, unknown beings hiding among the stars arose. The vast, infinite cosmic depth produces an overwhelming emotion that paralyzes us. The biography of H.P. Lovecraft, alienation, insignificance, fear, anxiety, and madness are all recurring themes in Lovecraft's work, and which he experienced firsthand throughout his life. It is important then to know of his biography. Lovecraft was an insecure and anxious boy who suffered from frequent illnesses, many of them apparently psychological. When he was 3 years old, his father, Winfield Scott Lovecraft, was committed to a mental asylum after a psychotic episode and later died of syphilis. His mother, Sarah Susan Phillips Lovecraft, became overprotective of him, never letting him out of her sight. Lovecraft's maternal grandfather, Whipple Van Buren Phillips, became a father figure to him, introducing him to classical literature, poetry, and weird tales, and ironically, even helping him overcome his fear of the dark. He became the center of his entire universe.
Lovecraft was a precocious youth. He was reciting poetry at age 2, reading at age 3, and writing at age 6 or 7. He became an avid reader, and he would spend most of his time in his private library. The death of his grandmother, Roby, had a profound effect on him. It sent his family into a gloom from which it never fully recovered. His mother and aunts wore black dresses to mourn her death, and Lovecraft started having nightmares of beings referred to as night gaunts. They would snatch him up and carry him through infinite leagues of black air over the towers of dead and horrible cities, until they'd reach a grey void full of needle-like pinnacles of enormous mountains, where they would let him drop. He would wake up screaming. These creatures later appeared in Lovecraft's fiction. After the death of his grandfather, Lovecraft and his mother were forced to leave their lavish Victorian home and move to a more modest house. Lovecraft called this one of the darkest times of his life, where he saw no point in living anymore and considered committing suicide. However, his desire for knowledge and contemplation on how much there was still left to explore prevented him from doing so.
At the age of 8, he discovered science, first chemistry, then astronomy. The latter would have a big impact on his future writings, gaining a sense of the vast universe and the insignificance of humanity within the cosmos. At school, Lovecraft excelled at all subjects, except for mathematics. In 1908, he experienced a nervous collapse while studying at high school. He dropped out and remained self-taught for the rest of his life. Lovecraft would develop a love-hate relationship with his mother. She would call him hideous and say that he hid from everyone and did not like to go out where people could gaze on him. He actually grew up to believe this, and there are reports that he would walk along the streets, hiding his face in a raincoat so that nobody could see him. Lovecraft was invited to a group of amateur journalists and obtained a renewal to live. For the first time, he met with like-minded individuals and felt at home. He became involved in detailed correspondence with many people and eventually became one of the most prolific letter writers of the century. Lovecraft wrote an estimated 100,000 letters during his lifetime, many of which are as interesting as his stories and give us a deep understanding of his lifestyle and beliefs. In 1921, Lovecraft's mother experienced a nervous breakdown and was admitted to the same place Lovecraft's father had died 21 years ago. She died after complications from an operation on her gallbladder. Lovecraft again experienced a deep state of sadness and contemplated suicide. He eventually recovered and shortly met Sonia Green, who became his wife, and they moved to New York. However, they both had financial issues and eventually had to part ways, as his wife's employment required constant travel. Lovecraft could also not stand living in New York. He felt alienated in an enormous city full of foreigners. His own detachment thus contributed to the general atmosphere of his writings. At his time, racism and xenophobia were not uncommon, and Lovecraft fell victim to it as well. But we must also understand that he was a product of his time. Nevertheless, it remains a highly controversial aspect of his popular reception. In 1926, Lovecraft returned to his beloved homeland in Providence, Rhode Island, where he would live until his death. He famously wrote, "I am Providence." He continued living at the verge of poverty, and most of his great works appeared in cheap pulp magazines, many of them remaining practically unknown. Lovecraft's health was deteriorating, and after experiencing excruciating pain, making him physically incapable of holding a pen, he paid a visit to the doctor. The cancer had spread to his intestine. He remained in constant pain until his death. In 1937, it is likely that he died convinced that his work would dissipate into nothingness. Lovecraft's traumatic life could easily have ended differently, but he did not let the dark times discourage him. They instead inspired him to continue writing. Luckily, many of his friends saw the value in his work and were determined to preserve it. Today, he is considered as one of the greatest weird fiction writers the world has ever seen. Introduction. Cosmicism. Lovecraft's stories don't really focus on character development as much as the phenomena surrounding them and their emotions experiencing the unknown. The bleakness of his stories is quite refreshing, and few writers have written so poignantly. His writings can really shake you up. Lovecraft shifted the source of horror from the traditional belief in vampires, ghosts, and demons to the immense and unplumbed abysses beyond space and time. As mentioned, from an early age he attained the idea that humanity is cosmically insignificant from his studies of astronomy. The universe, compared to the infinitely small Earth, and humanity's existence is so vast that from a cosmic perspective, human history, knowledge, religion, etc. is completely irrelevant and meaningless. Lovecraft emphasizes the fear of the unknown and unknowable, the fear we feel when confronted by phenomena beyond our comprehension, whose scope extends beyond the narrow field of human affairs. His philosophy is known as Cosmicism, which focuses on the insignificance of humanity and its doings at the cosmos at large, in contrast to the anthropocentric philosophies in which many find intellectual reassurance. This form of non-anthropocentrism is crucial to the philosophy of cosmicism. The question of the meaning of life was better left unanswered. Cosmicism is a type of extreme existentialism, as it brings up the uncertainty about the role of humanity in the uncaring universe, an existential crisis on a large scale. Lovecraft embraces the truth of reality. Things are important to us on the human scale, but we simply don't matter in the cosmos. He described us as the miserable denizens of a wretched little fly speck on the back door of a microscopic universe. Lovecraft portrays us human beings as ants in the vast realms of space and time, an incomprehensibly large universe that creates a fear of the cosmic void. This constitutes a serious blow to mankind's self-confidence. After millennia of living in the darkness, turning on the light will make us realize that there are others living with us. He thought that there was a point in which we could not cope with scientific discoveries. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but someday the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. Scientific discovery in Lovecraft's work is both fascinating and terrible, and he sees in it not the potential for the enlightenment of humanity, but as the ultimate exterminator of our human species. Knowledge is a self-annihilating disease. The contemplation of mankind's place in the vast, comfortless and cold universe, revealed by modern science, gives way to the discovery of unfathomable things which our mortal brains cannot comprehend. In The Color Out of Space, one of Lovecraft's personal favorites, a meteorite with an indescribable color crashes on a farm. It was only by analogy that they called it a color at all. As things from beyond the cosmos enter our world, they retain their external qualities to such a degree that humans cannot perceive and understand them. This cosmic malady, made of a never-before-seen color from outer space, upsets human perception and eludes all scientific explanation. An unknown force poisons every living thing, while people go insane or die one by one. Lovecraft's cosmic horror was achieved through devices that would, he hoped, feel completely foreign and unknown to the reader. This mood was meant to be crafted in unfamiliar and uncomfortable territory, a hard goal to achieve. However, cosmicism does not only mean the fear of the cosmic depths. In Lovecraft's stories, the unknown forces also lurk in the depth of the earth, oceans, distant territories, and in the equally vast recesses of the dreamlands. The Cthulhu Mythos Introduction. Lovecraft explored this preternatural territory through what is known as the Cthulhu Mythos. Although he did not coin this term himself, this word is supposed to be a completely non-human word, and there is no correct way to pronounce it. However, Lovecraft wrote that the closest pronunciation is Cthulhu. Unlike most horrific creatures, these entities do not seek our destruction, but rather appear as utterly indifferent to humanity, and it is merely by accident that they have a relationship with us. The coincidental alignment makes these gods no better than the remaining cosmic forces, and by ignoring humans, they are actually contributing to the sense of alienation. They stand for symbols of cosmic outsideness, which we can only grasp a tiny fraction. The horror derives from the realization that common human laws, interests, and emotions have no validity or significance in the vast cosmos at large. Consequently, the entities in Lovecraft's world were not evil. They were far beyond human conceptions of morality. They exist in a dark reality for which nothing is impossible and is beyond human access. They represent the essence of externality. As he writes, to achieve the essence of real externality, whether of time or space or dimension, one must forget that such things as organic life, good and evil, love and hate, and all such local attributes of a negligible and temporary race called mankind, have any existence at all. The Cthulhu mythos comprises a purposely incomplete body of lore rather than a complete system of knowledge. However, Lovecraft talks about several types of entities: elder things, great old ones, deep ones, and outer gods. The true horror is the mere knowledge that these entities exist and have come from the stars long before human civilization. The elder things were the first alien species to colonize Earth 1 billion years ago. The Cthulhu mythos, the elder things, they created Shoggoths, protoplasmic shape-shifting beings able to reflect all forms and organs, who served as slaves to build vast cities, but rebelled against their masters. The great city ruins remain frozen in Antarctica, and some of these entities can be found as fossils or in frozen hibernation. In At the Mountains of Madness, a group of explorers lead an expedition to Antarctica and are met with the Shoggoths. It was a terrible, indescribable thing, vaster than any subway train, a shapeless congeries of protoplasmic bubbles, faintly self-luminous and with myriads of temporary eyes forming and unforming as pustules of greenish light all over the tunnel-filling front that bore down upon us, crushing the frantic penguins and slithering over the glistening floor that it and its kind had swept so evilly free of all litter. The Cthulhu mythos, the great old ones and the deep ones. The great old ones, on the other hand, are a group of unique, immortal beings that were rulers and gods over Earth, but now reside stagnant yet eternal in various locations around the Earth. These are akin to demigods. Cthulhu is one such entity, the high priest and the great dreamer, who lies in a deep slumber beneath the ocean. It is a monster of vaguely anthropoid outline, but with an octopus-like head. Octopi are indeed some of the most alien creatures to humans on Earth. The thing cannot be described. There is no language for such abysms of shrieking and immemorial lunacy, such eldritch contradictions of all matter, force, and cosmic order. A mountain walked or stumbled. Cthulhu echoes the word chthonic, one who inhabits the underworld. He resides in the underwater city of Rusei, deep within the unknown, within the unconscious. He is sleeping yet eternal, waking yet dreaming, dead yet alive. That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange aeons even death may die. This mysterious line expresses Cthulhu's immense existence beyond human thought. In its eternal form, even the concept of death is no more. He had cast a spell on the great old ones, and while they no longer live, they have never really died. While asleep, they communicate with humans through the dreamlands of the collective unconscious. Cthulhu is a source of constant anxiety for mankind at an unconscious level. Around the Earth, the Cthulhu cult praise the great old ones, chanting, "In his house at R'lyeh, dead Cthulhu waits dreaming. When the stars are aligned, the underwater city will rise, and with the help of the eternal Cthulhu cult, the great old ones will awaken and regain what was once theirs." The cult prays to their own demise, unbeknownst to them, as the entities are beyond good and evil. Any hint of malevolence is strictly the interpretation of the human who seeks an explanation for the unexplainable. In The Call of Cthulhu, the protagonist, who was previously consumed with curiosity and traveled to unravel his mysterious findings, is terrified upon discovering the truth of the existence of the great old ones. "I shall never sleep calmly again when I think of the horrors that lurk ceaselessly behind life in time and in space." Lovecraft introduces the deep ones in The Shadow over Innsmouth, an ocean-dwelling amphibious humanoid race that have strong ties with Cthulhu and an affinity for mating with humans. They worship Dagon, the most powerful of the deep ones. However, the most powerful of all entities are the outer gods, cosmic entities located beyond the confines of Earth. The most notable ones include Yog-Sothoth, Shub-Niggurath, Nyarlathotep, and Azathoth. Most of them dwell in the outer voids outside of thought and existence, beyond the ultimate gate, which leads fearsomely and perilously to the last void, which is outside all earths, all universes, and all matter. The ultimate gate can only be unlocked with the silver key, an ancient artifact that unlocks the gate of space and time and allows access to remote places of the universe. It also allows one access to all the possible lives one may live or have lived. This gate is guarded by Yog-Sothoth, for whom time and space share no boundaries. Yog-Sothoth knows the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the key and guardian of the gate. Past, present, future, all are one in Yog-Sothoth. Yog-Sothoth holds the knowledge of everything and is the gatekeeper of it. Those who worship him seek the key to forbidden knowledge. However, it always leads to madness, as it opens a door to places we were never meant to travel. Lovecraft described Shub-Niggurath as Yog-Sothoth's wife and a hellish, cloud-like entity. Beyond this, there isn't much else to her. She can only be referred to as something unknowable, the not-to-be-named one. While most of the outer gods are exiled to the stars, Nyarlathotep, however, is active and frequently walks the earth in the guise of a human being. He is a go-between for humans and the gods, linking us to the entities beyond comprehension. As the crawling chaos and cosmic shapeshifter, he has infinite shapes and innumerable forms. He is deliberately deceptive and manipulative, representing the archetype of the trickster. He reminds us of the existence of that which we cannot truly know. Azathoth is the all-powerful creator of existence. He is known as the blind idiot god, who is absolutely mindless and unconscious, but is omnipotent and is the most powerful being of the entire mythos. All of reality is merely a part of his dream, unknowingly created by itself. He is a dreaming monster in whose dream the universe resides. Countless lesser deities play maddening tunes on innumerable drums and flutes to keep Azathoth from awakening, for if he should awaken, all of existence would be no more, and all would once again be Azathoth. He is the embodiment of disorder and cannot be destroyed, as the concept of destruction is merely his dream, and he exists beyond all human concepts. Lovecraft's fictional gods are relegated to the background of his stories. They are never the focal point, and rarely the cause of the unfolding of events, but they are always present, which is an important element of cosmic horror.